Hi and welcome to the subscriber report. This is a video specifically for subscribers to my channel, and the idea of it is it's to let me sort of bring you up to date with where we are with the channel, what's going to be happening over the next sort of short period of time, and also to sort of invite suggestions from you guys as well, because so far the community has been really good and quite a few suggestions have actually changed the channel, I think, for the better. Now, the first thing to note is it reached 2,000 subscribers and came as a little bit of a shock. I was actually thinking on Monday, last Monday, that I was thinking about the 2,000 subscribers thing, because I said I'd do a little thing where I look about the process of how I make the videos. And I was thinking, the way it's going, probably get there at the end of the month, the end of July, early August. And then 2 days later, it was there. It's like, wow. So it's completely caught me out by surprise. It also means the consequence of this is, since the last subscriber report, there's an extra 500 subscribers. So, there's a potentially significant number of people who will be watching this, and it's the first subscriber report they'll have seen. So what I'm probably going to do is a slightly longer one and sort of explain a few of the things that might have come up in previous ones, just to set the scene there. And in terms of the 2K subs, it's a little different to when I hit 1,000 subscribers, because I think when you start a YouTube channel, you don't really think about getting 1,000 subscribers. You're just doing a channel. You have to be doing it for enjoyment because you've no idea how well it will do. Whereas once you get to 1,000 subscribers, well, there's no reason why you can't get to 2,000 subscribers. So you're sort of anticipating that. And at that point, it's just a case of how soon is it going to happen, and it's not an easy thing to predict. I mean, certainly not an easy thing to predict. I thought I was going to get in 2K subs at the end of this month, and it happened like well before, about almost 2 weeks beforehand. And and the reason for that is, like, subscribers, same with views. I mean, there's a lot of markers when you look in the analytics on the YouTube page. There's a lot of different markers that YouTube are pushing into your face and going, make these things better. All sorts of things, but two of the key markers that people will naturally think of are views and subscribers. It's what people tend to latch onto, and they don't go up steadily. You don't see an incremental rise in them. I mean, I keep an eye on it. Obviously, when you've decided you're going to sort of put a channel together, you do keep an eye on it. And what happens in actual fact is it goes up a bit, very, very gently, and then suddenly you get a spike, and then gently again, then suddenly a spike. I'm going to come on to more of that later. Now, I was also thinking about the nature of YouTube channels. Of course, when you're trying to grow a channel, you're constantly trying to think about, trying to understand the process to try and give yourself an edge, perhaps, especially when you're late to the game. And really, an ideal time to have started this would have been some years ago. I'm quite late to the party here. There's a lot of wild YouTubers already. And so I was thinking about YouTube channels, and there's basically 4 things that you need for a YouTube channel. And the creator is one of them. And it's actually the smallest part of it. And sort of more about that later. The second part, obviously, is the YouTube platform itself. And for those who are maybe quite young and have grown up with the idea of YouTube, I'm now quite old. I'm probably like middle-aged in general terms, but as a gamer, I'm quite old. I'm 40 now, and there was nothing like YouTube when I grew up. There was barely even such a thing as the internet, and YouTube really represents a freedom. I would say it represents the freedom of modern times, and the reason for that is when you're growing up, you talk to other kids when you're growing up, and everyone always has different ambitions for when they get older and what they want to do. And some of them will naturally gravitate towards like celebrityism, if you like. Some of them will say, I want to be a TV presenter, or I want to be a musician, or I want to be a sports commentator, or something like that. And what you had to do, if you wanted to be a TV presenter, it meant you had to get a TV network to give you a chance. That wouldn't be easy. And that's for people who are even lucky enough to live in a city that has studios. If you didn't, no, you're having to travel. If you want to be a sports commentator, you sort of have to try and get like a local newspaper or a radio station to let you do some stuff for free. You'd be working for free, and you'd have like editor above you and things like that, and a schedule that would be given to you. And even then, you would be lucky for that opportunity. A musician, again, to get your work heard, you probably have to go through various professional companies first, and it'd be very difficult to market yourself. Whereas now you can do all this through YouTube. If you want to be a TV presenter, do your own TV show. Never mind just being presenter. You'll produce it and you'll have complete editorial control. If you want to be a sports commentator, there's people do that too. Do it on their own channel. There's one guy I follow who would never get onto television, never in a million years. He's far too rough and ready. But he's got over 250,000 subscribers following his just sports commentary channel. It's not the only channel he has. If you're a musician, then YouTube is a pretty good platform for getting that music out there. Whatever you want to do that used to mean location might be a problem, and even if it wasn't a problem, getting the opportunity might be a problem. You now have the opportunity to do it yourself. Yes, it's more difficult. You've got to promote yourself, and that's not easy, and I'll come on to that in a bit as well. But it's there, and it's an absolute freedom. And I know some people, especially professional YouTubers, do sometimes sort of say that Google themselves don't defend their rights enough, like there's the issues around fair use and things like this. And possibly they could do more. But it does, I think, nonetheless represent a real freedom of our age, and I think should be appreciated. The third thing you need for a channel is, of course, the source material. Now, I'm always very, very well aware that doing a WoW channel is you're a dead man walking. At some point, World of Warcraft is going to stop. It's still good for a few more years. It's quite clear this thing can go on for many more years, and Blizzard are clearly geared up for it to do that. There's no imminent danger. The Doomsayers have been out ever since the game first came out, but no, it's in cracking shape. But it won't go on forever. Unlike, say, and it seems to be the case with computer games, in a way that it's not the case with physical games. Like Warhammer, for example, whether it's Warhammer Fantasy Battle or Warhammer 40k, that I used to play a lot. Well, Fantasy Battle I used to play a lot before I got into World of Warcraft. And they've been around for decades, and you fully expect them to be around decades still. I expect those games to outlast me. So if I was doing a channel on that, I'd have, I'd be able to look to the future. With a channel like this, I know that at some point it's just going to stop. Yeah, okay, in theory, if the day World of Warcraft ends, there's another continuation, because World of Warcraft came from Warcraft 3 specifically, and its expansions. If there's another game that follows on and takes all of the old World of Warcraft players along with it, in theory, but that's unlikely. So there's going to come a point where the channel will just go dead overnight. And along with everyone else, I sort of feel for the people who make a living out of the channels, because all of a sudden, unless they diversify, gone. So that source material is also really important as well. And the fourth thing, and actually by far the most important, is of course you guys. Now, and I don't mean that in a ridiculous bullshit Oscar acceptance speech thing where the successful actor thanks their friends and family and agent and director and pretty much everyone they've ever had contact with, even down to the little old lady who used to sell them lemonade as a kid. No, I mean in a very real sense. Like I've just been saying before, the channel, gets views and subscribers, and it sort of grows, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it dips a little bit, but it's very incremental. But sometimes there are surges, as has happened this week. Every single one of those spikes where I've suddenly had an increased number of views or an increased number of subscribers compared to the norm has been as the direct result of some of my content being shared by others, whether that is by just this week, for example, there's been 2 really good examples of this, and this has happened in the past as well. So the first one, of course, was the icy veins situation. People were, I didn't realise this at first, but someone pointed out to me, people on the forums, the feedback forums for the icy veins rec guide, were posting my video and saying, you need to look at this, and that got shared around. And that's where I hit 2K basically, almost, just from that. And then also this week, a very popular streamer who also happens to have like 21,000 followers on Twitter tweeted that my retribution guides were the best they'd ever seen, and that people who are interested in that should take a look at them. And of course, you know, and that has resulted in hundreds of new subscribers just this week. Now, of course, that's not going to continue. If it did, I would reach 10k subs by the end of the year. That's not going to happen. It'll go down, as it has now for the last day or two, just incrementally again. And then maybe at some point something else causes a surge. And so it very much is down to, yes, people watching my videos is very important. People subscribing is very important. Clicking likes and putting comments in is very important, because all those things help increase the rank of the video to be seen by even more people who happen to be searching those sort of topics. But by far the biggest difference is people who actively support the channel, and that is, you know, sharing it with people and getting it out there in a way that I find quite difficult, because it is not an easy thing to market a YouTube channel, like on an amateur level. Obviously, if you're a professional company, you pay for advertising, but on an amateur level, excuse me, voice going, on an amateur level, it's quite tricky. I mean, when it comes to things that I can do myself, obviously, I think I've improved on that. I think more carefully about the title of my videos now. I don't go for the clickbaiting thing, but I do make sure sometimes my titles might have been quite short. Now I make sure I try and put the word, World of Warcraft in the title somewhere as well, just to help that out, as well as making it really, really clear what it's about. Put descriptions in, tags in. I've hopefully people will have noticed, but I've tried to improve the quality of the thumbnails. That's still ongoing, actually. Over the next week or two, I've got some work to do on making those better. Because what I originally did, I think I didn't used to do thumbnails at all, of course. And then when I started to do thumbnails, the purpose of it was because I wanted to distinguish. I sort of knew that, okay, I'm doing Retribution Paladin stuff, and a lot of my people then and now are Retribution Paladins, but not all. I do other things as well. My interests are not just... my channel is an expression of my interest in the World of Warcraft game, and that is Retribution Paladin, but also general raiding. Also other factors as well, like the Archives of Warcraft series is sort of tied into some of the things I also have enjoyed in the game. And I understand that some people might subscribe to my channel for a particular part of my content, not the whole thing. In fact, I don't expect any of my subscribers to watch all my content. I don't know whether any do, but I wouldn't expect it. I mean, people who I follow on YouTube, there is no one where I watch all their content. There's a few where I watch most of it, but there's no one where I watch everything. I pick and choose. So I thought, well, split it into things and have a thumbnail that sort of indicates what it is. So people who are not interested in the Retribution stuff, well, it's quite clear it's Ret stuff, so they can just ignore that video. That was the idea behind it. But now I think the thumbnail itself, from the point of view of people seeing these videos for the first time on a search, the thumbnail also wants to tell them what it's about, as well as the title, which sometimes you don't even see the whole, well, you don't usually see the whole title. You just get the first section of it, and that's not necessarily all that helpful. So I'm trying to explain what it is in the thumbnail as well. So hopefully that's an improvement. I mean, even then, of course, it's never going to get to the top of searches. People who make YouTube channels, and maybe they do general interest ones, have a chance of getting to the top of searches, because what they'll probably do is they'll do videos on things that not a lot of other people are doing, and they'll be really good at optimizing their titles and tags and things like that to get it ranked highly for the few people who do happen to search for it. Well, that's not an option for me. I don't choose what I do videos about based on low-hanging fruit type scenarios. I do the videos that I want to do. And if it so happens that lots of other people are doing it, like rec guides at the moment, lots of people doing rec guides, whether they know anything about them or not. So obviously I face a lot of competition from that. I'm nowhere near the top of the searches for that. That's just something I have to cope with. I'm never going to be able to compete with people who are the professional YouTubers, or even just ones who have like tens of thousands of subscribers and tens of thousands of views to go with it for each of their videos. That's just how I have to cope. I just have to build up slowly, as they did. Another aspect of viewers, subscribers such as yourself, having an impact on the channel are the sort of very thing that these subscriber reports are all about, which is getting feedback from you. And that feedback can be encouragement, that feedback can be suggestions, which are always really welcome. I'm just going to go through a couple of examples. I think, you know, as it's a slightly special sort of subscriber report, I'll go through a couple of recent examples that I've received here, just to show the sort of thing that I'm quite pleased about, because this is very much what I'm trying to do. The first comment here: wanted to pass on my appreciation on your clarification about the icy veins guide for Rets. Looking at the guide today put me on the wrong path right away, and it took some research on MMO Champion and seeing mention of your rant, so again, some people obviously plug my stuff there, to get me on the right track. Your rant video pointed out the superior talents and gave me a good starting point to being a better Ret during this pre-patch period. I've subbed up and hope to see more great Ret resources in the future. Well, you certainly will, hopefully. Hopefully even better. I mean, one thing I would say is that my pre-patch guides are a huge improvement on my 6.2 guides, and hopefully that will continue. But that is exactly the sort of thing that I do those guides for. I don't do them just because I fancy doing guides. I do them because I want there to be good quality guides available in a way that, I'm not saying there aren't any out there, but I don't really see them on YouTube at all. So like in terms of video guides, I don't really see them. And also even some on forums are not what they should be, and certainly not what they could be. Another one here, just a sort of general one. This was emailed to me. It says, I'm sure you get emails like this every day. Well, not quite every day. I do get a few like this though. They are very nice. But as someone who, after reading all the forums and WoW subreddit posts about how bad Ret Pally was going to abandon my main since vanilla, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your amazing videos that truly go in depth about the changes, the class mechanics, and what makes Ret fun. Your videos proved to me the community was just hopping on the bandwagon and gave me a true guide to enjoy the Ret Pally again. Whenever I need help learning the new mechanics, I come to your YouTube channel and watch your videos. They've helped me and so many others rediscover what we loved about playing Ret Pally and WoW, and have helped us become the best we can be when playing as one. Blah, 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 blah. So, and again, that's exactly what I do. I'm quite pleased about that. Because, I mean, there are things not right with the spec, and sorry for those who are watching that are not Rets, by the way, about this little thing. But the same applies to any thing I do, just general raiding. There is sometimes, I think, too much negativity. I mean, sometimes I try and call a spade, as we say where I come from. Where something is not right as I see it, I will say so, but I don't go overboard on it. I'm not sort of trying to say the world's collapsing. I'm still going to play Ret, and I am determined to be competitive. And so should everyone else. If you enjoy playing it, you should play it, and I hopefully will be able to help people to do that and to do it well. Now, when it comes to suggestions, various aspects of both intros, outros, sound levels, even choices of videos have actually come from you guys. And I don't always agree with suggestions, by the way, and if I don't agree with them, I just won't do them. It's that simple. I'm not a slave to them. But at the same time, I do really like suggestions, and what I would say is, if anyone ever sort of thinks, well, I have an idea, but I'm not going to say it because, you know, he might not appreciate criticism, I absolutely do. I completely agree. I completely accept criticism. And again, if I don't agree with it, I've got the balls to just say, I don't agree with that. And that's all there is to it, and that's fine. But I would still suggest that you carry on suggesting things. And even if I don't agree with any of your suggestions, it doesn't mean to say the next one I won't agree with. So absolutely. And this is one of the points of these videos, as I say. It's to invite people to actually offer suggestions. What aspects, I mean, if you've noticed any change, you've been following it for any length of time, what aspects of the channel do you think when I've made changes have worked well, what other things might you think could make it even better, and all those sort of things. And if I don't have enough time to do it, or I just don't think it would make it better, then I won't. But if I do, then I'll do it. And I have done it in the past, and I expect to do it in the future. Now, just to get everyone up to speed with the aims of the channel, especially if you are one of the new subscribers, and I say we've got about 500 this week, it might be worth going over again where we've come from. Now, they do say that to know where you're going, you have to know where you've come from. Now, of course, mathematically and geographically, that's a load of crap. But maybe philosophically, it makes a certain amount of sense. So, going back. First of all, the channel itself was created years ago, but it was not created as a channel. It was created simply as a convenient place to post videos for guildies and friends. It was kill videos and things like that. Then last April is when I put up my first rec guide. Even then, it wasn't with the purpose of growing a channel. I don't really think of the channel being a year, like since April, I should say. Even though if you look at it sensibly, it probably was. What the purpose of it was, I found myself with forums, lots of people asking the same sort of things, you know, having the same sort of difficulties. And rather than just keep answering and answering again, I thought, well, if I do video on it, where we've also got the benefit, unlike on a forum, of demonstrating it visually, actually demonstrating you doing it, then that's better. And I could say a little something and copy and paste a link to the video. And that's sort of how it started. Then I started to think to myself, you know, I started to get a few subscribers, not loads, but a few. And I thought, oh, there's people. And they were very well received, even though they were quite rough and ready. I mean, you know, I look back at them now and I'll cringe. They're terrible. But they were very well received is the important thing. Not like I was expecting where some people would like them, some people wouldn't. The vast majority were overwhelmingly positive about them. So I thought, okay, this might be a good opportunity. And I had noted that there weren't really good YouTube guides for PvE at any rate, certainly not comprehensive ones. I thought this might be something. But I thought I ought to try it out first rather than commit to doing a channel. So I thought, well, I'm bound to end up doing vlogs as well. I'm not going to just do retribution guides. There's other things I'd like to do as well. If I'm going to do a channel, I'm going to do all the things that I enjoy in the game. I need to know that I enjoy it, because I knew that I would have to improve my production values. I knew that I'd have to get a bit more serious about it. And if I didn't enjoy it, then it's pointless. So I did a few vlogs. I did a few other things as well for another couple of months, just to make sure that it's the sort of thing that even if I got like 20 or 30 views and like 1 subscriber a week or something, I'd still be okay with it. And I was. So mid-September, I went, right, that's it. We're doing a channel. And so it's sort of grown from there. And where we are now is, in actual fact, over the next few months, each month's probably going to have a slightly different flavour. But what, you know, just to contrast how it was then and how it is now. How it was then when I did these guides is I usually just shot from the hip. Now, I think in some ways, me being a teacher helps with doing some of these videos, and in some ways it hinders me. And one way in which it hinders me is because when I'm preparing for a class, I prepare my objectives, I make sure that I'm teaching what I need to teach for the spec, I prepare activities for my students to do to demonstrate learning so that they can work through them, test themselves, make sure they're improving. What I don't do is write a script for the lesson, because I'm an expert in what I teach and I can just talk about it, and that's fine. And I sort of brought the same sort of thing to the videos. So I was basically just talking about these things, and then, you know, it was just a case of getting suitable footage. Most of the footage already existed. I just recorded myself doing raids. Now I know, actually, my favourite WoW YouTuber, I follow a number of WoW YouTubers, not all of them by any means, but a number. I'll give you 5 seconds to guess who's my favourite, actually. It's actually Balula, okay? And his is completely different style to mine, because I know, because he said so, he scripts very carefully all his videos, and I think that really does show. whereas I tend to be more reluctant to do that. And again, I think it comes from this teaching thing. But some things I think have to be. Like when I look at my 6.2 guides, like the beginner's guide and the intermediate guide, and there will be those again done for the post-Legion stuff, they weren't properly scripted. The beginner's guide wasn't. It was just me going through all the abilities, really. And they were long. They were over an hour long. And even they were very well received. Even recently, I've had people putting likes on them and putting comments saying how much they've helped them. And I'm thinking, this is just me waffling. So now, when it comes to a guide, I do script it. I'm not saying I say it word for word from the script, but I do script it. The Retribution guides I did, the parts 1, 2, and 3 for the pre-patch, they were scripted. I mean, that came to, it was an essay, basically. It came to thousands of words. Obviously, it wouldn't be sensible for me to just talk through all that lot. The videos would end up being twice as long at least. So I've managed to keep them down to a better size, I think, by doing that. There are some things for which I still think it's important to shoot from the hip, though. When I'm doing vlogs, because I'm just talking about how I feel about something, and this video now, I tend not to read from a script, but I do tend to sort of plan out little bullet points in advance. So there's little things, so I might glance down at the screen, just so I don't forget a little point that I'd thought of. So I will think about them in advance, which is something I didn't do. So once that's done, and that might take a little while for a video to actually think about what I want to say, even if I'm not writing it word for word, if I'm just putting bullet points, it takes a certain amount of time that it just didn't then. And then what I'll do, I mean, what I used to do then is just slap in the audio over the video, make sure it sort of meshes, and then render it, upload it, job done. Now, the footage or the images that I need may not already exist, or if they do, I might have to find individual snippets and stitch them together. I might actively have to go and get those screenshots and go and get that footage. So that takes extra time as well, because it's not footage that I naturally have. I need to specifically go out and do something to get it. Then it's a case of editing it all together, preparing screens and thumbnails. That doesn't take ages, but still that's something that I do now that I didn't do. The editing process itself can take quite a while, because often what I'll do is when I'm talking and I'm reading from the script, you might make a mistake. I just carry on and then edit out those little mistakes, hopefully, from that. And then once it's all done, then I sort of render it. That can take anything from 10 minutes to an hour, but of course you can be doing something else in the meantime. Then it's a case of uploading, and when it comes to uploading, it's uploading the video. That'll take a certain amount of time. Make sure I'm happy with the title, put the description in, put my Twitter and email in there, along with, you know, maybe there'll be timestamps. If there's timestamps, of course, I've got to check where times those different sections are in. Most videos don't have timestamps, but the guides sometimes do. Any links to any sources I've been talking about might go in there as well. Then I need to I've done the thumbnail, attach the thumbnail, maybe attach it to a playlist. Usually I try and attach it to a playlist. And then when everything's set up, before I select publish, I'll review the video. And this is just to make sure there's no real howling mistakes. I would say at least 50% of the time when I watch it back, do notice something wrong with it that I've cocked up on the editing and not noticed it. If it's something I've mentioned this before, if it's something very minor, I tend to leave it, I let it go. I think people tend to be quite kind with you. It's different. I think for the successful YouTubers, the ones with like 100,000 plus subscribers, you know, the ones who are sort of basically making a living out of it, people would tend to be a bit harsher about production values. I think they're a bit kinder with me. They let me get away with it because I'm not making a living out of it. But if there's something like that is going to be picked on, I will go back. And that happened last night. The video I did on the Ret Addenda actually did have, there was like an image that was obscuring an important part of the screen that I was trying to show something on. I almost thought about letting it go. I thought, well, you can sort of still see it. But I thought, no, people are bound to pick up on it. So went back, re-edited, didn't take that long to do it, but re-rendered. That still took the same amount of time as it did before, and re-uploaded. But even when that doesn't happen, and when you've got it all uploaded as well, then there's the annotations to do. Now I'm trying to, move more towards cards than annotations, but at the moment I'm still doing annotations. That takes a certain amount of time as well. There is a new feature coming, which some successful YouTubers already have, a new card feature, which should help a lot, whereby at the end of it, it automatically puts in recommended videos from my channel based on like maybe the viewer's viewing habits or, you know, what it's related to. Which would actually be really good, because that'd be like an automated ending type thing in a way that I have to do manually at the moment. But what you can see, hopefully, is it now it takes a long time to do these videos, and I can well imagine what, you know, spare a thought for professional YouTubers. They're not sat around on the sofa scratching their arse all day and then suddenly get up for half an hour and make a video. Even when it appears that the video is just them talking about the events of the day, which is as easy a video as you can possibly do, there is I can appreciate now, there is a certain amount of work that still goes into producing it. So yeah, but hopefully, I hope, if you look at this video now and you look at a video anytime from, because I put my first my first video for consumption outside of my friends and family, shall we say, friends and guildies, sorry, one of my family play games, rubbish games anyway if they do, and that was April the 28th, I think, 2015, so last year. If you look at any videos like from round about that time, maybe up to September, October time, and how they are now, I'd hope you will see a definite improvement in production value. I hope so. It certainly takes a lot longer to do. And from now on in, hopefully it's a case of just working smarter, not harder. What I'm wanting to do is to set up systems so that it's all ready to go and everything, all the monkey work is done before September, of course, when Legion comes out. And there's a few things happening when Legion comes out. Now, I mentioned about like flavors of different months. I think every month from August for the rest of the year is going to be significantly different regarding the channel. August is the last month where I'm like free as a bird. So the focus will be on two main things. One, obviously getting Legion guides done, and there's a sort of priority order of those. I always have a huge list of ideas for videos. They don't always make it through. I don't have the time to do all of them, so I prioritize and then change priorities according to whatever. As well as reset up the website. I had a website, well, I still do, obviously. I don't plug it anymore. It's well out of date. I am going to start from next week on updating it with new stuff. And what I think the reason why it got out of date is because the way I had it set up was all wrong. The whole point of the website is to support the channel. So it's somewhere you can go to get sort of written guides, as well as a nice convenient place to be able to see like videos and things like that, along with some commentary, in a way that playlists sort of do, but are not as good, in my opinion. You can sort of highlight certain videos as well. And I made the mistake of designing it such that it would have regular updates. Now, the problem with that is I don't have the time. There's certain times of the year when I do have the time, there's certain times I don't. And I can't just I can't let the grass grow over it at certain times of the year and then try and rein it back at others. It needs to be consistently what it is. So I need to change it to a format that'll be low maintenance, where there'll be minimal updates needed. Maybe swapping videos and putting new videos and stuff like that on. But essentially, it needs to be what it is. It's a support to the channel. It doesn't want things where I need to be constantly updating it, because I'm just not going to have the time. So that hopefully will be done in the next few weeks, and then I can then start advertising it again back on the YouTube channel. I also need to do a new trailer video. The current trailer video was done some time ago, where I sort of split the channel into four main areas. There was sort of Retribution stuff, general raiding stuff, World of Warcraft vlogging things, as well as Legion news. Well, Legion is sort of here now, so it's no longer the expansion that's coming, it's sort of the expansion that's almost here. And in addition to which, there have been other things I've been doing on the channel, like the Archives of Warcraft series, and that don't really fit into any of those categories, so I probably need to just update that. So that will also be on my to-do list. And as I mentioned before, thumbnails, I'm going to update thumbnails and the images for those and just refresh those, just sort of change them around a little bit. So that's August. September is when it all kicks off. I have three main things all eating away at my time. One is I go back to work. It's the new term. So at the moment I'm on summer break. There, and you know, it's not that I'm completely at leisure. I still have work to do, but I can sort of, it's not as much as when I'm at work, let's be honest. And I can manage my time. I can do it when I like. So I'll be back at work. That's going to eat up my normal office hours. Legion comes out, so that means I've got to spend as many waking hours as possible leveling and gearing up 2 characters, getting ready for raids, and with the extra pressure with Legion that I'm not only leveling up and gearing up characters, but leveling up my order hall and artifacts as well. For 2 characters. So it's going to be a busy month. Obviously, the channel content will reflect the sort of content I'll be doing in game at the time. Then in October, we'll be into raids. That'll be raid season. I don't know exactly when the first raid's going to come out, Emerald Nightmare. I'm hoping 4 weeks in, which would put it end of September, early October. So that is the sort of main raid time. Towards the end of which I will get a week off because it'll be half-term break, so that'll help me catch up a little bit with things. It might be interesting to do when the raids start, like a weekly analysis video on a particular boss. Might actually even put a poll out there to see which video, like which boss people are interested in doing, or just based on whatever I happen to be progressing on when it's into Mythic. Hopefully it's not the bench boss. And I do hope not. Just as a little aside, I've had a terrible time in Hellfire Citadel. It's like the first tier where I've ever had this, because I've been raiding it's not quite ever since tier 1. I have raided tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 and so on, as well as Anchorage, which wasn't called a tier at all in that. But I did leave the game at the end of tier 7, just before Ulduar came out, and came back just in time for Dragon Soul. So I missed out several tiers. But, you know, I've raided in all the other tiers. And I've always been in the core raiding team. You know, the only time I've ever sat on the bench is either when I was a trial on my first night, because it's always been the case that as soon as I've got into a raid, I've never been left out of it again for progress. Or when work's interfered. In fact, before Hellfire Citadel, I'm just going to go through the bosses that I missed kills on, when I didn't get the guild first kill. There was Firemore, this is Blackwing Lair, Firemore and Ebonrock's the next one, isn't it? Firemore and Ebonrock. Because they were both, I did the progress on Firemore, but they killed Firemore, then Ebonrock straight away, because it was a piss easy boss in Blackwing Lair, because I had a parents' evening. So I came back to find out they'd just killed those 2 drakes. And it had dropped something I wanted. Boo-hoo. Next boss I missed was Illidan. Again, I had an evening class to teach, so I missed. We almost killed it the night before. I almost got it, but we didn't quite. And then they killed it when I had my evening class. Bloody gnomes. Then Raden, and that wasn't work thing, that was my internet went shit. It was bloody Virgin Media being an arsehole. I was in the group, and then it all went to shit. 3K latency, so no good. So I'd sit for that one. That was annoying. That's it. 4 bosses in however many tiers that is. Then in Hellfire Citadel, there's been 4 bosses I haven't been in on the guild first kill on, for various reasons. Not been a good tier at all. Not at all. So I'm hoping that's not a sign of things to come, but only time will tell on that one. But anyway, that's that aside. Then November would be you think October, of course, like the first week it'll be normals and heroics, so it's actually worse than doing mythics, because we'll have to do 2 normal runs and 2 heroic runs. We'll be knackered. The next week we'll do the same thing again, but with some mythic in there as well. But hopefully the normals and heroics should go a bit quicker, because we've got a bit more gear, and we know the fight's better. But By November, of course, we would have presumably stopped doing the normal heroics. Maybe we'd be doing like the last a couple of bosses on heroic or something like that, depending on how the. Presumably they'll do something similar where you can sort of get straight to the last boss or something like that, or just do the last couple of bosses, something like that. So it'll be November will be very much into mythic progress, and again the content will reflect that. And also by then, of course, our artifacts may have moved on a bit, and I'll probably be doing an update video on artifacts, because it is at the moment my biggest challenge with the Ret guides and the Demon Hunter guide, come to that, will be level of artifact, because any class and spec is going to play significantly different with a full artifact as compared to an empty artifact. So I need to try and do a coverall guide in either case anyway, but obviously when it gets to November, maybe more raiders will be well on the way with their artifact, and I can do a bit of an update on that. And then December, of course, coming to the end of the year, hopefully, I don't know, who knows, but hopefully we'll be coming to the end of Emerald Nightmare Progress, and we'll just be in that period of farming while we wait for the next raid to come out. And of course it'll be the end of the year at a time when it'll be very much worth doing an end of year review and see how the channel has gone on then. So that's really where we are with that. So I mean, I've got lots to do. I will be doing another subscriber report, of course. I mean, again, those who are new to the channel, I tend to do subscriber reports when there's something new about the channel to report on, or whether I want feedback based on some changes I've made before I sort of commit to them. So in that vein, you know, very much report on changes and things you'd like to see done. August is the time when I can sort of decide what's going to be done. When it comes to September, as I say, I'll have limited time to produce the content, and the content's going to have to be based on the content I'm doing in game, of course. So I need systems in place by then, basically, up until the half-term break, which is like late October, early November. But yes, so thanks for watching. If you've got this far, well done. I've got a lot to do. The next subscriber report will probably be it will be sometime next month. I just don't know when. Hopefully at a time when I will have crossed off a lot of things on my to-do list, and it won't have got any longer with extra things to do. But anyway, until next time, I'll see you later.